All right, these are the notes on our muscle tissues, and this should go on page 30 in your notebook, your right-hand page 30, and then on your left-hand page, page 29, that's where you're going to put your half sheet that you picked up in class today. And that half sheet is on muscle tissue and nervous tissue. These two lectures, muscle and nervous, are really, really short. So tomorrow I'll probably, have you guys, maybe we can look at some real microscope slides and you can practice with the microscopes. All right, I'm going to highlight some things here that are really, really important that I want to make sure you've probably written these notes down. So if you have a highlighter, you can highlight or underline or circle. And then when we look at the pictures, I'm going to add more details about the different types of muscles. So first of all, where do you find skeletal muscle? It's found attached to bones. It's also referred to striated and striated voluntary muscle. Skeletal muscle is the only type of muscle that we can choose to control. It also has a specific character that it's striated, which means that it has stripes or bands, B-A-N-D-S. So if I draw a simple cell here, okay, skeletal muscle is tubular in shape. It's muscle cells, which are also called fibers. Okay, hold on, there's someone at the door. Resume recording. All right, so sorry, we had that a little interruption. So if this is an individual muscle fiber, one thing that you're going to notice on skeletal muscle is it has multiple nuclei per cell. So we call that multinucleate. Multiple nuclei. And those striations or those bands, there's like these little lines. And so that's an individual muscle cell, what it looks like. Cardiac muscle is also striated, but it is not under voluntary control, so it's involuntary, and it's only found one place, the heart. We can slow our heart rates down through relaxation techniques, but we can't make our heart stop because, I don't know, if we slowed it down enough to stop it, we might be so relaxed that we forget to restart it, and then we'd be dead, right? Smooth muscle, non-striated, also referred to as visceral muscle, and it's involuntary. So what does visceral mean? Visceral in slang is your guts. Okay? So what do you think of when you think of your guts? You think of your stomach and your intestines and okay, those are your viscera, your internal organs, okay? So, we find smooth muscle in tube-shaped organs, things like the esophagus. I like to say esophagus. That's a tube that connects your mouth to your stomach. The trachea, right? That's how Miranda Sings would say it. I love Miranda. She'd say, "Oh, it's a delicious trachea."
You watch
delicious.
videos?
Oh my God, I watch Haters Back Off, the show. I love it. Because you know what? As funny as it is and as goofy as it is, there is a lesson in all of those stories and moments of true tenderness and,
Isn't she having a baby?
Yeah, she is. Oh, and you should have seen her baby shower. It was so amazing. Miranda's having a baby, right? She's the Virgin Miranda. So for her baby shower, she's like, "Okay, everyone, here's my baby shower." And she stood in the shower and she just stood there. So great. Okay, so we also have the stomach, and the uterus, and I could just go on and on and on. Okay, all of these things are aligned. So, for example, when you eat a meal, once you choose to swallow, Swallow is voluntary. That's controlled by skeletal muscles. Once you choose to swallow, though, the food moves down your esophagus through involuntary muscle contractions, smooth muscle contractions. When it's in your stomach, it gets mixed around because of smooth muscle. It gets moved through your intestinal tract because of contractions of smooth muscle. You don't have to think about that. Okay? So, what kind of cell is this?
Cardiac.
Okay. It is skeletal muscle. Now, how do we know?
The fibers.
Okay, muscle fibers are also cells. That's what we call muscle cells. We call them fibers. And here you definitely see the striations, right? And you see lots of nuclei. Now, since you haven't seen cardiac, you don't know yet the difference between cardiac and skeletal. And nothing about this picture tells you it's voluntary muscle. What I want you to notice is that the fibers run parallel, nice parallel lines to each other, right? So this is a muscle cell, correct? This is another muscle cell here. See how they're nice and long and parallel to each other? You know that word parallel, right? Have you ever had shredded beef or shredded chicken or shredded pork?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. When you slow cook meat, low temperature and slow for a long time, that breaks down the connective tissues between the muscle fibers. And what you end up getting, the shreds of meat that you end up getting, are bundles of skeletal muscle cells.
Ew.
The bigger the shred of beef, the more muscle fibers you have together. If you took that shred and shred it again, and shred it until it eventually you get this like hair thin piece of meat, you're almost down to a single muscle cell's width. Oh my God, if you go out to dinner tonight, make sure you order something with shredded meat so you can go, oh my gosh, look at all of the shredded muscle fibers. You're going to look at your food, especially your meat, totally different from now on. Next time you eat chicken on the bone, you're going to be like, oh my God. And you're going to start looking at the ends of the bones and looking for hyaline cartilage. And you're going to start looking at the ends of the muscles for tendons. And you're going to start noticing that this tendon is connected to this muscle, but then there's this other section here that's separated. Well, that's a different muscle. Yeah.
I'm not gonna want to eat. You know how like when you eat chicken, and then there's like a certain part where it's like fat, but at the same time it's like the bone. What is?
That's going to be, if it's connected to the muscle, it's going to be a tendon. If it's on the end of the bone and it kind of breaks off the end of the bone, that's a chunk of hyaline cartilage. I'm going to make you, you're going to have an opportunity to dissect your turkey for Thanksgiving, too. That's messed up. Okay, you can eat Thanksgiving dinner and then dissect the carcass. Okay.
Cardiac.
This is cardiac. Good.
What was the last one called?
Skeletal. The last one is skeletal. Okay, how do we know this is cardiac? Here's what you're looking for. You're looking for these structures called intercalated discs. Make sure that's in your notes. Here's one. Here's one. They're all over the place, right? The intercalated discs, they function to connect the muscle cells, not muscles cells, muscle cells. So it connects the muscle cells together, and it helps to coordinate contraction. So it keeps the muscle cells coordinating in a way that the heart beats properly. All right, so that's the purpose of the intercalated discs. Another feature, do you notice how, yes, there are striations? Okay, you see the striations. When you see striations, you know it's going to be a cardiac or a skeletal. But are these cells nice and parallel looking to each other? Does it look parallel like it did? Or do they look a little bit more like possibly branched? A little bit less organized? A little bit less organized? Do you see how this one, there's one there and then it's a space and then it goes on there? There is a branching pattern to cardiac muscle cells. Like trees branch off and split. Okay, so you get cell branching in cardiac muscle. If you're really not sure about what that branching is supposed to look like, then just go with, I see intercalated discs, I see striations, I know it's cardiac. Okay? Last but not least, smooth muscle. Smooth muscle has the shape of a spindle. What the heck is a spindle? Well, if you remember Sleeping Beauty and the curse from Maleficent, she will prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die. Okay, the spindle was the needle part of the spinning wheel that was sharpened, as my kids would say, poiky, which is pokey and spiky together. Poiky, okay, nice and poiky. And it's got one nucleus, so it's uninucleate. No striations. You don't see any stripes there. See these nuclei? Long and skinny because the shape of the cell is long and skinny. Okay? I would recommend that you look at other examples on your own of these muscle tissue types. Okay? You have the JDoc HistoWeb website to help you. Or you could just Google images and put in skeletal muscle cells, smooth muscle cells, and just look at the screen and look at all the different pictures. All right? Okay. I'm going to try to do another quiz for you guys tomorrow. Maybe I'll throw in and mix up the slides a little bit. Okay? It just depends on how much time I have. Okay? That's it, you guys. That was a quick one. That was 12 minutes and 30 seconds.